Four Seasons Town Center, the third mall I have ever covered. It's time we swing back by this mall and get a quick look at how it's been doing. Has it improved or did it die? Let's step inside and find out. Now, before we get to the history, there are two things to go over. One, this mall was filmed in early April, so expect some bygone stores to still be open in this video, as well as Easter decorations to be up. Two, I also came out here to meet up with a relative newcomer to Dead Malls, whom you'll see later in the video. Now then, Four Seasons Town Center traces its roots all the way back to the late 1950s, when Joseph F. Coury began land acquisition in southern Greensboro, North Carolina. The goal of the land acquisition was to develop new suburban housing as well as a shopping center. Four Seasons would be marked for development at the intersection of the shiny new Interstate 40 and then US 29/US 70A. These roads are now known as Gate City Boulevard. Four Seasons would take time to get off the ground over the 60s, but the first development, a Holiday Inn hotel, would open up in 1970. The Four Seasons Mall would come later, opening up in phases. The first phase would open in 1974, and the second phase would open in 1975. The mall was designed with potential expansion in mind and would be a very large mall for its time, boasting a third floor area as well as a basement, both of which would follow suit for retail use. The original anchors of the mall at the time would be Belk, JCPenney, and Greensboro-based Meijer's. Meijer's was a local department store with only another location in downtown Greensboro. Although a very limited footprint, Meijer's was taken in by parent company Allied Department Stores at the time. Four Seasons Mall did have secondary anchors, several of them, in fact, most notably Miller & Rhodes, Thalheimer's, Frankenberger's, McCrory's, Eckerd Drugs, and Winn-Dixie. The mall would even see a General Cinema in 1979. Meijer's was short-lived and would be replaced briefly by Jordan Marsh, another Allied Stores nameplate, before the space would be sold to Ivy's in 1980. JCPenney would discontinue its auto center service in 1983. The space left abandoned before it would be razed a few years later. "1987 would see a major expansion come for Four Seasons Mall, updating the mall's image with its new name, Four Seasons Town Center, a new contemporary logo, and a third floor which would bring forth a food court. Ivy's would later on be acquired by Dillard's in 1990, the store having just been renovated to connect to the mall's third floor. That same year, Belk would renovate their store to add on a third floor to connect with the three floors of the mall. This would leave JCPenney as the single two-floor department store, which is still open to this day as of the making of this video. Thalheimer's nameplate would be discontinued in 1992, and the store was originally slated to be replaced with a full-line Hecht's. However, parent company Mayco decided against this and was more focused on its location at the Friendly Center, expanding that location and then building a freestanding Hecht's 3 miles west of Four Seasons. The latter store would prove to be a bad move in the end, as it would have been closed in 2015. The late 90s would see a major renovation, overhauling the mall's interior, overseen by Thompson, Ventilette, Stainback and Associates. This mall would bring forth a large fountain and amphitheater to the mall's center court and pseudo-basement floor. This would also bring forth a number of permanent kiosk spaces for the mall to utilize, and shoppers would be treated with a number of seating areas reminiscent of living rooms.
Yeah, that's a conversation pit.
Yeah, it's a.
Alright, in we go.
I love this downtown and it was
floor?
first.
Alright.
It was like single point that.
Alright, let's get the floor. God, that flash throws. Yeah, I can see what some of the guys say, why this mall looks like a bootleg Todman.
It was a pin.
Part of it's the conversation pit, but also part of it's all the angles in this mall.
Like otherwise he beat Bathimers right. I think it was Bathimers right time was at the last time of a
2002 would see Dillard's come forth with their dreaded arch design as they expanded their store. Immediately after, Four Seasons would see its mall entrances updated over the course of 3 years. Carolina Circle Mall's demolition in 2004 to 2005 would leave Four Seasons Town Center as the only mall in town, with Oak Hollow Mall and Haynes Mall as its nearest enclosed competition. Oak Hollow Mall would have been starting to decline at this time, while Haynes Mall was being renovated by CBL and Associates. 2004 would even see Four Seasons being sold to General Growth Properties. Deviating from the history for the brief moment, our special guest, Bathimers, our relative newcomer into the Dead Mall scene. A link to her channel will be in the comments below. Just be civilized.
Bathimers, damn it. I was sorry, I got distracted by the makeup. You would expect a girl like me to like.
Unfortunately, the mall would be subject to violent crime over the years. Its first major incident came in November 2006 when a shopper was shot in the parking lot of JCPenney. That same year, in December, a shopper would be shot on the second floor just outside of Baby Gap. The media, not wanting to let this tragedy go to waste, reported on the shootings extensively. The third notable major incident would occur in February 2017, as a man from Lenoir, North Carolina, was shot in the JCPenney parking lot during an attempted mugging. Once again, the news reported heavily on this. Four Seasons did manage to shrug this off, though, still holding its own today despite the bad publicity. The first major challenge for this mall came in the form of Belk, when the company announced their plan to close the store in February 2015, intent on focusing on their Friendly Center location. Dillard's, however, felt like taking over the space and would announce plans to reopen in the Belk location in October 2016. During the transfer, their old pad would be converted into a clearance center to move excess merchandise before finally closing. 2018 would see the old Dillard space partially filled in, as Round 1 Bowling and Amusement opened up its 20th U.S. location on the first floor of the pad. As of the making of this video, no plans have been announced for the upper floors and have been quietly walled off. Our last major note comes in the form of General Growth Properties, whom would agree to a deal with Brookfield Property Partners. Brookfield would acquire General Growth Properties for the low price of $9.25 billion. Ownership would be transferred respectively to Brookfield Properties.
They look so similar to American Eagle. It's the front story. And the way they did that was they held
Today, as of the making of this video, the Four Seasons Town Center is still holding out, bolstered by Round 1, Dillard's, and JCPenney. The property is currently valued by the city at an estimate of $87.77 million. It appears that Four Seasons is holding its own and doesn't plan on slowing down just yet. What will the future hold for this mall? We can only wait and see at this time. Four Seasons is a pretty mall to behold. Some have even described it as a bootleg Taubman mall. However, when coming at a later date to this mall with raw and real retail, the three of us did notice that the fountain was filled in with concrete. It was already dry in this video, and filling it in with concrete is a bit of a red flag for me. I have no solid notes on this, but it appears that there is a move by Brookfield that could fill in that amphitheater and make this into a boring, flat center court. A real shame, as this amphitheater would be great for shows and performances. Oh, wow. Are we already at the end? Well guys, I guess I got a little carried away, but that's alright. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like it or dislike it. Comment, share the video if you think others will enjoy it. And don't forget about my presence on Minds.com as well as Ko-fi.com, both linked in the description below. Oh, and don't forget about Bathimers who came out to go dead mauling with me. Until next time, this is Doomie Grunt, wishing you and the Four Seasons Town Center farewell and good luck.